Hi everyone, this is Raymond Wood at the Raymond Wood Podcast. We're back with another episode. Now, over the next 12 months, you're going to notice on our podcasts, not only are we bringing current and existing famous people of the football world, but also people who are working towards becoming famous. Now, I've got one of our players from our programme, Jackson Booth. Hey Jackson, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, good mate. Now, Jackson, for all of our listeners and followers, obviously they can see you've got your Football Queensland jersey on there, but can you tell everyone where you're from and what age you started playing football?
I'm from Yeppoon, which is about 30 minutes away from Rockhampton, and I've started playing football at the age of 5.
So you've pretty much played football your whole life up in Yeppoon?
Yep.
Yeah.
I started under 5s when I was in Townsville, and then I think in under 8s we moved down to Gladstone for a year, and then under 9s since I've been in Yeppoon.
So football experience up in Yeppoon, obviously I know Yeppoon really well. It's a beautiful place, lovely beaches, good food. From a football point of view, has it been really good for you to develop up there?
The CQ program has been like probably the best.
Yeah.
Because like we come down here and play against the Brisbane teams, get looked at, but like could be a lot better.
Yeah, it's a lot harder, isn't it, for you guys when you're playing in the local competitions, because I'm familiar with places like Central Queensland, is that when you get to a certain level, you're not being challenged and you want to be challenged more. So obviously having that option to play for CQ and coming down to Brisbane every now and again has been good for you.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we met through your mum and your mum's friends with one of our staff members, and we give you an invitation to have a look at our Pro Player Pathway programme. So you've been with us on the programme for how long now?
I think about just a couple, maybe 2 months or
2-3 months.
Yeah.
Now, when you come in, obviously, and you've seen the programme and you've done the interview with us and we took you through the scholarship and we actually offered you a scholarship to join us on the programme. When you first seen it, were you super excited, or what was your thoughts? What was your process?
Very excited. Yeah.
What was the one thing when we showcased the presentation to you and we done the Pro Player Pathway and we showed you everything that's involved? What was maybe the one thing that you first seen and thought, this is going to be a game changer, or I'm really looking forward to working on that particular part?
The success rate. Like, I looked at the success rate and I was like...
So the testimonials and the different success stories, yeah. That's one of our biggest ones, is that we done a successful trial during COVID and coming out of COVID, and it was something that was really important to us to see if the programme would work. So obviously when you're seeing the successes, but also I think I remember showing you some of our best testimonials are players who've come from regional parts of Australia, whether it be in Victoria or Queensland or New South Wales. So that must have excited you to believe that it was possible. So is your dream and aspirations always been to play professional football?
Yeah.
And who's your favourite team?
Well, it's more like whatever jersey I got first when I was younger.
Yeah.
So like the first ever jersey I got was Barcelona, so that's just a team I've stuck with.
Yeah.
But then, like, in the Premier League, everyone's got to have a Premier League team.
Who's your Premier League team, Jackson?
Manchester United.
Manchester United. Everyone's laughing, seeing him smile, because he knows I'm a big Liverpool fan, but I don't mind a bit of Manchester United as well. They're not doing as good as Liverpool at the moment, so that's always good to see. So, obviously, growing up in Australia, you've obviously watched the Premier League. You get to watch the Spanish and all the best leagues. Obviously, seeing all that as you grow up has obviously inspired you to want to play professional football.
Yeah.
Was there any point growing up over the past couple of years, coming from a place like Yeppoon, where you're actually thinking it's probably not realistic to think I'm going to make it as a pro?
Sometimes, but then like there's even been times like maybe not professional, but like I knew that there was still a chance for me to like go somewhere, like to Brisbane or something.
And just to play at a higher level.
Yeah, but probably not professional.
And then obviously now that you've seen the Pro Player Pathway, you're now on the programme and you're now working through it, you obviously have a different thought process now that you're actually seeing that it is possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you put the work in. Now, talk to us a little bit more. You've got your Football Queensland jersey and you're down to Brisbane for the next couple of days. Then you're off to Sydney on Monday. Talk to us a little bit about what's going on and what you're up to.
So pretty much there's 3 Queensland teams and we'll just be heading down to Sydney to verse all the other states around Australia. And then I think out of that there's a selection for the Joey's team, whether it's like under 20s or under 17s or...
So you're hopeful that maybe you can try and get a spot on the Joey's team. That's the plan.
Well, yeah, that's the plan. But like the main plan was just to my main goal was just to make the Queensland team so I could get scholarships and stuff to be able to move down here.
Yeah.
Without spending a lot of money.
Without spending a lot of money. So since you've been on the programme and you're playing and representing for Queensland and you're trying to open up scholarship opportunities, you're trying to get Joey's representation, and we'll talk about it a little bit in a minute as well. Since you've been on the programme with us, we're fully aware that there's trials going on in January for you over in Europe. So your life is literally flipped upside down since you've come on the programme. It's exciting, eh?
Yeah, very.
It's really exciting. Now, we'll talk a little bit about the programme, and you've been on it for a couple of months now, and I think this is a good one for any of our listeners or mums and dads or boys and girls who are thinking about maybe finding out more information about the Pro Player Pathway. So the first touch point when we got the Pro Player Pathway and once you signed up was getting you your GPS tracker, getting your match analysis done. We'll talk a little bit about your match analysis first. So for everyone who's listening in and doesn't fully understand our programme, we've got 7 pillars to the programme. One of the pillars is match analysis. So can you talk for the boys and girls out there a little bit what happens in that process and explain it from your point of view? What is the match analysis? How is it done and how is it delivered to you?
So pretty much there was this dude, I think I got Bolton Wanderers. Bolton Wanderers like
coach
dude.
So you were there, Danny Clark?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. And
he was just explaining to me like, I was actually pretty impressed because I thought it'd just be a lot of negatives, but he was actually, pointing out a lot of positives as well. Stuff that I need to keep doing.
So just to explain to all of our viewers, so with the match analysis, we actually get a recording of your game. So either one that your team's already recorded of you being in, or we actually provide you with a tripod and you put up your camera and you record it. So was your game already recorded, or
my game was?
It was recorded from your team.
Yep.
And then it goes off for match analysis. You don't see any of this part, but it goes off to our analysts who are based in Portugal. Ironically, we were talking about Portugal this morning, saying you like watching Portugal. Once that's analysed, it then comes back to us. We then assign it to a coach. That coach then connects with you guys on a Zoom call.
Yep.
And then you spend an hour with Danny going through your match analysis. So you just said there, you touch on obviously things that you need to get better at, but also there was a lot of things that Danny said to you that you were doing really good in your game as well.
Yeah.
Can you give us an example of one or two of the things that he said you were doing really well in your game?
Oh, like I was creating space and then giving that really long ball over the top straight to the winger's feet or something like that. And he said I need to keep, and also defensively, my scanning's really well.
Yeah.
But the one thing he said that I need to improve on is scanning when I'm in the attack. So when I'm getting the ball.
Yeah, when you're getting the ball.
Yeah.
And then once that's recorded, you've done the Zoom call with Danny, it then draws out a set of objectives. So there's 5 objectives that we identify in every player's match analysis. We then identify which one's the major area of concern that we've got to attack straight away. And then we label them 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and we go all the way through. So just for our listeners, what was the first objective that got identified that you needed to work on?
For me, it was scanning.
It was scanning. So even though you got some really good comments from Danny saying that when you do scan, it's good, but obviously what we've identified in the match analysis is you're not scanning enough.
Yeah.
So when you do scan, it's fantastic, but you just weren't consistent, and that's the beauty of this program. So for all of our listeners and people watching and listening in, we actually identify how many times in a game Jackson's actually scanned and when he's had an opportunity to scan when the ball's coming into him. So obviously your scanning would have been way, way down. So just to explain it to all of our listeners now, so we've got scanning as your first objective. It goes into our portal and the app. It then feeds that back to you via the portal, and then you've got to input your scores every time you play in a game. So can you explain how you do that, and is it if you can talk about successful and unsuccessful for our listeners?
So for the first couple games, I'd struggled a little bit especially because we were going through some difficult teams as well. So I was focusing on just trying to play the game. I wasn't really focusing on my scanning.
Yeah.
So I didn't really do that well. But then, it just started happening, and every time I put the tracker on, it's like it just reminds me to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm just doing it, and then I got 2 in a row, and then I got just under again in my another game, and then the third one I ended up completing it.
So what percentage is it you've got to get to? So from successful and unsuccessful, how many successful have you got to get?
So I needed to get 85% successful.
And you achieved that within a couple of games. You actually got up to 85% with scanning.
I achieved it 3 times in my first 7 games.
That's amazing. So just again, for all of our listeners listening in, one of the things when I worked in the Premier League was that we set an objective of 80% or above to achieve for our objectives. All of the players on our program, we set you guys to 85% because we want you to be better than the kids in Europe. So then if we can open up any opportunities into the UK, into Europe, or the US, or wherever it may be, we know that you're above and beyond of where those players are. So when you're recording the objectives, and you said like you struggled for the first couple of games, but one of the things we discovered in the Premier League was that when you're focused just on one thing, actually your whole game gets better because you're only focusing on that one area. You're not worrying about defending or recovering or long passes or striking the ball. You're just focused on winning. To you looks like winning is about scanning and about getting more successful passes or getting more long passes, depending on what your objective is. So did you find once you started to hone in just on that one objective and focus, did you find your game just seemed to just flow?
Yeah, my attacking game has gotten a lot better. And it's just, even from before being on this program to now, it's before I was just maybe scanning. I was scanning, but not really that much.
Yeah.
But now it's just like, even when I watch myself happen, like I tell myself, like after the games, like, oh, it doesn't really feel like I've scanned that much.
Yeah.
And then I go and watch myself back, and I've scanned a lot.
Yeah.
It just happens a lot more natural now.
Because you're doing it a lot and you're seeing a success from it, you obviously want to keep doing it, don't you? Because it's like, it's actually helping you get better.
Yeah.
So just from that one fix, I mean, we spoke about this on a previous podcast. I had a player who was playing for Liverpool, and that player was brought to me because they were getting released by Liverpool at the age of 16, and I got asked could I help them because they were considering giving up football. I actually offered this player a full scholarship to come on the programme. Within a week of being on the programme, I spotted straight away on the match analysis, because I done it myself, what the one problem was, and it was scanning. And it amazed me that someone had been at somewhere like Liverpool for 6-7 years, and they were good at scanning, but again, they weren't consistent enough because they weren't even going into that much detail like we do on the pro player. So it must give you confidence knowing that you've only been on the programme for 8 weeks. You know, you're off to nationals with Football Queensland. We'll talk about it in a bit. You've got trials coming up to the UK and Europe in January. But you've done such a vast improvement in your game already just from that one objective.
Yep.
So once you've done one objective, we then move on to objective number 2. What objective are you currently working on at the moment?
I'm currently working on short passing and distribution.
So short passing and distribution. So when we talk about short passing, again, in the game, you receive the ball, you make a pass to a teammate. That's a big tick. If you try and attempt to pass to a teammate and it's short and it doesn't get there, that goes down as a cross.
Yep.
So at the end, if you get 5 successful, 5 unsuccessful, you're at 50%, yeah?
Yep.
And then you've got to try and get to 85%. So again, for anyone who's not familiar with our program and the listeners, you need to get 3 games in a row where you're striking 85% or above. That shows that you're competent, and then you can move on to your next objective. So just for our listeners, Jackson, where are you up to with short distribution and passing?
So I finished my scanning just before the holidays, so I haven't played any matches under this objective yet.
So you've got to start working on this one.
Yep.
And hopefully that might be something that you could work on maybe while you're in Sydney on Nationals next week. Fantastic. Now, we did touch on it a little bit, and we'll move on to one of the other pillars of the programme, and that is the GPS tracker and how important the GPS tracker is. So can you explain to everyone who doesn't know what a GPS tracker is? Because it amazed me, because I always forget that because I've been so fortunate to work in the elite game, and I just assume everyone knows what a GPS tracker is. But when I go and run our events, it's quite evident to me that people actually don't even know what a GPS tracker is. So can you explain it to any boys and girls out there who don't know what one is?
So pretty much it's just like a sports bra that we put on, and then it's got its GPS on the back of it, and it like tracks the calories burned, it where I've run on the field, it tracks the distance I've run, the like what intensity I was running at, how many sprints I've made.
What's the benefit to you, Jackson? Because I know what the benefits are from my background. 'Cause I've worked with them for 20 years. But when you were coming into the program and you put the tracker on, what's like one of the one things that you thought, wow, this is actually going to really help me, or it has helped me?
When I put it on, I want to train. I want to be out on the field with the ball.
Yeah.
Like every time I put it on, I want the ball at my feet. I want to be on the pitch. It helps a lot with getting my hours up.
We spoke about it in the drive over in the car, and I said it was funny that we've had players in the past have said like they feel like it's having a coach on your back because they're there in your ear telling you, and it's like you're conscious that tracker's there, and if you don't put in, you know, because it's going to show up in your results. So have you had any results where you've got your tracker off at the end of the session, you've seen your results and been a bit disappointed?
Yeah, like sometimes I think like I've worked hard and then it just says like it was like low intensity or...
Yeah. So that's a great one that, again, no matter where you are, whether you're in Yeppoon or Brisbane or London, wherever you are in the world, coaches, it's hard. I know from my background, we don't always have the time and effort to make sure we know every single player is put in. But with that GPS tracker, there's no hiding from it. So the good thing for you is when you think you've had a hard session, you're coming off sweating, but then you put that result on, you actually see it's being low intensity. It actually makes you realise, doesn't it, that, oh, wow, I actually need to up it a little bit in the next session, especially if it is meant to be a high-intensity session. So with the GPS tracker, for everyone listening in as well, we record accelerations and runs and decelerations as well, how many sprints players do on the pitch, but also distance covered. We also get all of the players to wear it for recoveries, recovery walks, runs. Have you been using it outside of football yet for anything?
I use it every time I take my dog to the park because usually when I walk my dog around, I run, so I always put it on.
Yeah.
Even if I'm just going outside for 10 minutes to juggle a ball, I put it on.
Yeah.
Take it to PE at school as well.
Yeah, that's good. And that's one of the things that we say to the players, if you can wear it as much as possible, even when you're out for a walk, when you're out doing high-end activity, it's a good way of us recording and getting a real holistic view of what you're doing day to day. And the big part that people underestimate is that recovery part. To actually see that you've recorded 7 low-intensity 15-minute sessions this week. What are they? Oh, they're actually when I'm walking the dog. Great. Well, they actually act as recovery walks or recovery runs for you, keeping your heart rate and your threshold low. It's going to help you recover a lot quicker, ready for the next day. So that's a little bit about GPS trackers. We're just going to go to our first break, but we're going to be back. And when we come back, we're going to talk intolerance test and foods. So big thank you for listening in, guys. And we'll be back in a few minutes.
Would you one day like to be a professional football player? Would you like to be part of our pro player pathway? What is the pro player pathway? It's an opportunity for all Australian football players aged between 10 and 23 who want to join us to become the next professional football player. On the pro player pathway, you get to join me and my team free of charge to an event all around Australia. When you join me, we're going to teach you the secrets of football in Europe. And one day, maybe, you could be gracing the Champions League final. Guys, over the next 12 months, we're going to be coming around all the major cities of Australia. And when we come around all the major cities, we're going to be running our free events everywhere we go. So guys, what have you got to lose? Nothing. It's a free event. It's for boys and girls aged 10 to 23. And I'm going to teach you the secrets of becoming a top European football player. Oh, and one final thing. We're going to be giving away 20 scholarships to join me on this program of a lifetime.
Hi everyone, it's Raymond Wood. We're back here with Jackson Booth. He's down in Brisbane for Nationals with Queensland. He's off to Sydney on Monday. Now, we were just talking a little bit about Jackson coming on the programme. We were talking about the first steps of the professional player pathway and getting your match analysis done and getting your objectives and getting you on the portal and the app and getting you to record your stats. Now, one of the other pillars, and we were having a good chat about this on the way in the car, is your intolerance and DNA test. So can you again maybe explain to all the mums and dads and boys and girls out there what this test actually is and what it tests for?
So pretty much this is like a DNA test. So like I cut a piece of my hair off, we sent it down to you, and then we got back just an email of all the foods that I wasn't allowed to eat.
Amazing. So I'll just build on that for everyone who's listening. So We get a sample of a player's hair, we send it off to a laboratory, they actually test it, and it's an individual test, so it's not even like a family DNA test, it's actually an individual test, so we test it for all the intolerances, whether it be foods, drinks, products, home products, anything that, you know, even things like down to like blankets and pillows, anything like that, there's a test for everything. So when you first seen this, and I showed you it on the presentation, and we explained to you that getting this done can not only help you keep inflammation down, it can help you speed up recoveries. And we always talk about those 1%ers. If we can get those 1%ers into your game and into your day, it gives you a better chance of making it. Let's talk about your results. What was some of the things on there that you now can't eat and you can't drink? So when you get your list back, you get a list, everything in black is right.
Yeah.
Is like what you can eat and drink. And then you get a list of stuff in red that they advises you not to eat anymore.
Yeah.
So talk to us, what was some of the things in red?
So some of the things in red for me was like stuff that I have every day, like tomato sauce.
Tomato sauce, so you can't have tomato
Can't have
sauce
tomatoes.
anymore.
I have that on like a lot of my foods.
Okay.
I can't have white bread,
White bread.
so that's out. Most breads
Yeah.
as well. I can have wraps though, like plain wraps, but not plain bread.
Yeah.
I can't have table salt
Okay.
or lettuce or
Lettuce.
chicken as well.
Yeah.
Chicken's a big one.
Chickens, I was saying to you before off the camera, like 70 to 80% of people flag up with chicken. And a lot of people don't make sense with it. And just for people to understand, what we do is we remove chicken out of your diet for 6 months, but then we allow you to re-educate your body back with chicken again. But this is 9 times out of 10 what we've found. Unfortunately, a lot of chickens now are pumped wrongly or rightly so, but are pumped with like salts and waters to make them bigger. They get all sorts of like different grains and not great food put through them. Now, what we've seen in the past is people who've come up with chicken, the good news for you is that people have had chicken, come up on the results that they can't eat it no more. They remove chicken out of the diet. They add chicken back in, but they add in like organic chicken and then get retested. And it's actually, we've discovered that actually is fine. So a lot of the time, it's unfortunately a lot of the foods that we're producing now, because we're producing it in the masses, it's getting pumped full of stuff that's not really good for you. They're getting fed grains and stuff that's not really good for your body. And what we're discovering is 90% of the time. So are you pleased to hear that maybe one day you can eat chicken again?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you said lettuce as well, which is a really interesting one.
Yeah.
And again, unfortunately, I guarantee if you remove lettuce for 6 months, but then you re-add it in, but again, if you go for organic lettuce, that's not getting sprayed and pumped with chemicals and that, what you'll actually find is that the chances are it's probably because of what gets sprayed on our foods, unfortunately, nowadays. Was there anything else on there that you can't eat or drink, or?
Or I couldn't have any like dairy products, like most of them, like all the milks and stuff.
Yeah.
But
That's a common one. I actually done the test myself, and I'm the same. I got all of the dairy, cheeses, milks, like I can't eat any of it. And I must admit, since I've stopped eating it, I've noticed a huge difference in like my skin, my hair, like just feeling better day to day.
And one of the like ones that it's in like a lot of things, I think it was aluminium,
Aluminium.
which I think that's in a lot of the stuff that I use.
Yeah. And it's also things like there's a lot of like metals and toxins found in fish as well, which is another one that you can.
Wasn't allowed whitefish, but I'm allowed salmon.
There you go. There you go. So that was really interesting. So since you've got your results, the question I've got to ask you is, have you been following it pretty much?
I've as much as best I could do. The
Yeah.
tomato sauce I'm trying, but everything else it's been pretty easy to lay off.
It might be as well worth checking back when we get you tested again, but also they have salt reduced tomato sauce or no salt tomato sauce. I don't know if it tastes the same or not, but it was interesting that you got white salt on there or table salt, and that's what they put in tomato sauce as well. So it could be that it's the salt as well. That's connecting. But that was really, really interesting. Now, we're nearly done and we're nearly finished with this podcast, but one of the final things we want to do is wish you luck for your upcoming training with Queensland, Football Queensland, and everything that you've got going on at Nationals. But one of the other pillars which we haven't really spoken about yet is once you get through your 5 objectives, or you're getting close to your 5 objectives, we then open up opportunities for you to go on trials and go and train in the likes of Europe and the UK with some of our partnered academies and clubs Now, obviously, that's something that's really of interest to you. That's something you'd like to do in the future.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Now, we've obviously got some stuff going on in January, and we forecast forward how quick you're moving through your objectives and where we think you're going to be in Jan. Now, we obviously made you an opportunity to go with us in January, to come with us on trials, and you're going to be coming to the UK with us, I believe. So is that something that you're really looking forward to as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've come from playing community-based football in Yeppoon in central Queensland to now all of a sudden, you know, you're kicking goals representing state for Football Queensland. Hopefully we can get a Joey's call up. And then obviously we've got the exciting trials into the UK and Europe in January. So you must feel in 2024 your football's gone from there to there, all in a case of 2 or 3 months since you've been on the programme.
Yeah.
So final question I've got to ask you before we finish. Would you recommend this to other boys and girls out there? And if so, what's the one key thing to you that you think's why people should do it and why they should sign up?
I would most certainly recommend this to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think one of the big things that it helps you is just improve your game immensely. Like, it's just going to make everyone a better player.
So it just gives you a little bit more awareness, you feel, of what you should be working on and how hard you should be working.
Yeah.
And then once you're aware of that and you're able to monitor that, because the big thing I think with all of this, it's data, isn't it? It's all the data that you get from it, and you can actually see it's objective. It's not subjective. It's not like your coach is saying, I actually think you had a really good session there tonight, but then when you put your tracker on, you go, actually, coach, I didn't, because I actually didn't work hard enough. That's really interesting to see, because what one person thinks is actually not really what's really happened. So you know day by day when you're putting that tracker on, you know if you're working hard enough or not. And then it's measured against your objectives in the portal. So you must be super excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, a big thank you, mate, for coming on. And I'm really happy you were able to share your story. Now, what we're going to do is hopefully in the next 12 to 18 months, we're going to get you back on again, because I'm pretty confident we're going to have some major success stories with you. You're going to join us again in 12 or 18 months?
Certainly.
Thanks, Jackson. That's me, guys. Over and out from the Raymond Wood podcast. And we look forward to speaking to you on our next podcast in the next couple of weeks.